Then the girl takes out the Colt and begins to balance American's opening. Fire on Cross. The gunfight bursts out in the store. Wesley is stunned by a panic attack. He tries to run, but the strange girl holds him back. Then she takes out the corner shot device and starts shooting off the mirrors to limit the Cross's field of study. At this moment, Wesley takes the chance and runs outside. Cross tries to catch him in the van, but the girl slowly gets Wesley into her red Ferrari. The chase continues. The girl hangs through the windshield and fires at the van. Wesley and Jolie with her right foot drive the car and turns. The guy, meanwhile, admires the view. A police team blocks the street before our heroes. Having assessed the situation quickly, the girl jumps behind the wheel and makes the Ferrari skid. The wheels hit the drain and the car flips, falling on the bus. After that, the couple restarts their tour of the night city, but that was too much for Wesley, and he goes faint. Wesley wakes up in what looks like a textile factory. He tries to leave, but all doors are stopped by some angry men. Then the girl from the store shows up, and Wesley frantically tries to convince. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Man emerges with a gun in his hand. He gives Wesley a gun and tells him to shoot and hit a fly circling over a trash can. Wesley looks shocked by such a request. Then the man makes the task harder and tells him to hit the wing of the fly. Instead, Wesley feels a gun pointed at the back of his head. The big guy behind says that if Wesley didn't shoot, he'd get shot. Instead, a panic strike makes Wesley's response so quick that he can track the movement of the fly's wings after shooting 6 bullets. Music. Wesley rushes to take his medicine, but the boss stops him and shows him the flies with their wings shot off. He throws away his meds and says his heart was beating at 400 beats per minute. His pituitary glands spilled a huge amount of hormones into his bloodstream, which made the reply several times quicker. This is not a fear episode, but the power he received from his father. Wesley thinks he's crazy and threatens him with a gun, asking to stay away. The man presents himself by the name of Sloan, and Angelina is Fox. Sloan says Wesley himself is crazy, working away at the building with such possibilities. Instead of freeing his power and using it, he gives him a chance to repay his father and kill Cross. This gun you're holding, and it belonged to your father. He could conduct a big chorus with it. Also, they moved all his father's money to Wesley's account after all that they let the poor guy go. The next morning, Wesley wakes up thinking that what has happened was just a dream, but in the bathroom, he's forced to come to senses by a gun that fell out of his pocket. He hides the gun in the toilet tank. Wesley goes to the nearest ATM and finds out that there are more than $3.5 million in his account. At work, Wesley studies articles about the murder of his father on the roof of a building. All of a sudden, the boss shows up and meets the guy nicely. Stage. I still don't have my billing report. She yells at him again that the study is still not ready, and he wastes time surfing the internet. The boss threatens him that she will destroy his career, and Wesley answers politely. He tells all the truth about her and how the whole group laughs. Behind her back, he does real emotional damage. Then he grabs his keyboard and goes away. Barry calls him a man with balls and wants to give him a high five, but Wesley smashes his face with a computer for screwing his girlfriend. Excited, he leaves the building and sees newspapers with the stories about his yesterday's adventure in the store. Fox picks him up, and he happily jumps into her car. The girl brings him to the weave factory. At first, Wesley thinks that this mill serves only as a cover, but as it turns out, they are indeed master weavers and run this business expertly. They call themselves the Fraternity of Weavers. When Wesley walks up to the work cafe, he realizes that they're the real weavers. He says he doesn't want to go back to his old life, and Sloan puts Fox in charge of training him. Then the training starts. They tie him to a chair and start to beat him. Asked why he came here, he doesn't understand what they want from him and just says that it's definitely not to be beaten in the face. Then the battered guy He's brought before a butcher who tries to train him in knife fighting. They don't spare Wesley at all, and he gets badly hurt. He wakes up in a bath full of wax. A guy nicknamed Exterminator is working on his recovery and says that these are special rejuvenation showers to help his pain. The man gives Wesley booze, and he immediately understands that the man is Russian liquor. Yeah, are you Russian? Yeah, gun training also takes place. In an unusual way, Wesley has to learn to fire bent bullets, not only with a straight course. Such an interesting work repeats day in, day out. He's beaten to a pulp, then healed. Eventually, another body of a fraternity member is brought. It's the work of Cross, who cuts them one by one, according to Sloan only. Wesley can stop him a bit later. Fox asks the guy to catch a shuttle that moves at a great speed inside the moving loom. He tells her to put a gun to his head to trigger his response, but Fox says that he has to learn to control himself. Wesley fails and just hurts his hand during the healing process. The Russian shows him a trick with a rat. He mounts a small explosive device on a mouse and leads it to a safe place with peanut butter. The rat bursts. The man says Wesley's father loved that trick. The guy asks if he's okay and what they've done to him since he acts somewhat weird. Meanwhile, Fox Klein comes out from the close bathroom and tells Wesley to follow her to the training. This time she starts to beat him to a pulp herself and asks the same question, why he's here and why he's wasting her time. Finally, Wesley gives the only right answer. He wants to know who he really is. He is brought to Sloan, who tells him about his father, saying that he was the best of them, and shows his things in room. Wesley puts on his father's jacket and decides to measure up to him at all costs. His training now becomes important, as his goal is to revenge his father. All difficulties seem insignificant to him. He easily stands any bullying and absorbs loads of information about his enemy. He trains day and night with the passion of the Shaolin priest. He makes short work of the knife master. The teacher who beats him broke his bones against Wesley's head. Then came Wesley's turn to beat him up. The only thing he couldn't handle was to stop a bullet. Fox decides to help him with this and stands before the body to motivate the guy. Feeling huge responsibility, Wesley manages to curve the bullet around her head and hits the 10 ring. Now it's time for his first task. Sloan leads him to the loom. It turns out that they learned the names of their targets from the cloth made by the loom of fate their ancestors from the club deciphered. A secret code that lets changing thread errors into a binary sequence, which is then used to make up the names. Wesley gets the name of his first target. Fox is following him on this mission, riding on the train roof. They approach the goal, but Wesley can't fire. He closes his eyes and remembers their conversation with Fox a day earlier. He asked her how it was possible to take someone's life by order of some fabric. Fox then told him the story of a little girl whose father was a judge, ethical and incorruptible. At some point, he was dealing with a case of a high-profile crime. The defendant wanted some other judge and sent a killer named Max Patrick to his house. This killer burned his victims alive and forced their family to watch it after, which he carved his names on their bodies so that they would never forget this horror. When Fox joined the fraternity, she found out that the loom revealed Max Patrick's name a few days before the death of the judge, and one of the members had failed to pull the trigger. That is why the fraternity's motto is kill one and save 1,000. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Neck. Wesley opens his eyes and decides to kill the businessman by firing a bent bullet. He gets one task after another, and each time he hopes that Cross's name will come up on a new mission. He can't kill a businessman on his own while the target is moving in a protected vehicle. Then Fox helps him by setting up her racing car as a springboard by making a flip above the car. The young Padawan manages to shoot the target through the open sunroof. After the job, they go to Wesley's house to grab the gun hidden in the toilet. Seems like his friend Barry now lives in his apartment with Wesley's girlfriend. Wesley knocks out Barry by practicing a May Gary on the door and heads straight to the toilet while his girlfriend throws muck at him. Fox gets tired of hearing her screaming and decides to improve the status of the guy. In the eyes of his ex, she gives Wesley an intense kiss and the couple leaves. Barry tells Wesley in his wake, he's a man. Wesley on the street. When Fox went to steal a car, Wesley sees Cross. He opens fire, but Cross manages to repel. Wesley's shot with his bullet the chase. After Cross starts with other members of the fraternity, joining at an abandoned building site, Wesley accidentally shoots Killer while he stands shocked by his mistake. Cross shoots a curved bullet from around the corner, hitting the guy's shoulder. Wesley wakes up in the recovery room. He sees how they are trying to save the Russian bro, but fail. An exterminator dies. Luckily, the bullet removed from his shoulder is the first one that can be traced. It was made by Pekorsky. He works at a convent in Eastern Arabia. The fraternity sees that this is a specially prepared trap, and they don't want him to go alone, but Wesley manages to show them that he's ready finally. Sloan gives him the paint with Cross's name on it. When Wesley leaves, Sloan gives Fox the board with Wesley's name and tells her to kill him when he's done with Cross. The guy gets at the convent and found Pekorsky. The man pretends to be running, but then he tries to lure Wesley into a trap. Fortunately, Fox, who was watching Wesley, arrives to his aid. Wesley shows the bullet and asks where they can find the owner. Pekorsky vows to arrange a meeting with him. He brings them to the train stop. Pekorsky is ready for Cross, while Fox and Wesley sit in ambush. Suddenly, the old man starts to run away. The couple chases him down with his side vision. Wesley sees Cross in the car. He jumps on the train while Fox follows. Pekorsky. The train leaves and Fox realizes that Wesley is now face to face with Cross. She takes an old Soviet car from an old couple. Pekorsky calls Cross and says that Wesley is on the train on his own. Cross grabs the guy and wants to tell him something, but Fox tries to catch up with the high-speed train and her rusty shitbox, which is obviously tuned, and opens fire on Cross. A fight breaks out in the train while Cross only repels shots fired at him. The Fox's hoop tie rams the train, after which the train derails and hangs on the bridge like a sausage. Wesley almost fell into the abyss, but Cross managed to grab him, giving his life. The guy shoots his enemy and the whole car falls off and gets stuck in the gorge before he's death. Cross tells Wesley that he is his father and the group lied to him all the time. Wesley asks Fox if it's true, and she confirms Cross's words. Wesley is the only one. Cross would not kill the other members, just couldn't get to him. The guy learns that his name was also exposed by the loom and manages to flee from Fox by shooting the glass. He falls into the river together with his father's body. Wesley wakes up in the recovery bath in the house across the street from his old home. The guy hears his girlfriend telling her gal on the phone how disturbed she is by tricking away such a great guy. Pekorsky tells how his father was always around and watched his life. He didn't want his son to take this terrible road and tried to keep him from meeting with the fraternity of weavers. Pekorsky gives him a piece of fabric with Sloan's name. It turns out that the machine revealed his name and Sloan hid this. Cross learned that Sloan began to use the deciphered codes for his own selfish goals, so he left the group and promised to destroy it. Wesley finds a secret path. In the closet there in the secret room are lots of bombs for rats and a full plan of the fraternity's base building. Wesley goes to the shop and buys a horseload of peanut butter. Using it, he draws rats into a garbage truck. He breaks into the building and releases his explosive rats. When the rats have done their job, he bursts into the building, killing everyone in sight. He's using his guns like leading a symphony, the musicians with it. At the most unsuitable moment, he has to fight the butcher, who is a surprisingly tough opponent, but Wesley gets to put a honing steel in his chest. Finally, he gets to Sloan. Wesley is surrounded by the surviving fighters, including Fox. Wesley tells them that Sloan was afraid and hid the loom's choice, after which he planned to remove the only witness. Cross. The fraternity members demand their leader to explain this. Sloan shows them the folder with the names Deciphered from the painting, all members of the fraternity are among them, he says, that they can keep following the looms. Orders blindly, but in this case, they should all put a bullet in their heads. Or they could let it all go, kill Wesley, and rule the world using their skills. After that, he leaves, letting the members reflect. All fighters decide to follow Sloan and kill Wesley except True, believing Fox, who fires a bullet in a circle, killing all of them, including herself. Wesley tries to follow Sloan, but he vanished into thin air, lost and exhausted. He walks to the ATM and learns that his account is empty. A few days later, in Wesley's office, everything goes as if nothing ever happened. Sloan sneaks up on Wesley with the glitcher M712. The guy turns around, and we see that it's not Wesley, but just a bait. He looks down and sees the Professor X mark under his feet. The nice, vintage-looking bullet pierces Sloan's head. Backwards move shows us the full direction of the bullet, which flew through the boss's donut and entered Barry's energy drink. The bullet was fired from the house of Wesley's father.